All right, today I'm interviewing Kevin Snelson, a correctional lieutenant from Columbia River Correctional Facility here located in Portland, Oregon. Today we're going to be talking about his thoughts and understanding of data centers and their potential impacts on the community. But first, I'll give Kevin a chance to introduce himself and a little bit about himself.
All right. Hi. Yeah. My name's Kevin Snelson. I'm a lieutenant here at Columbia River, like you said. So I'm just looking at the instructions that he has here. The instructor's asking for some perspective that shaped me, the individual. So I'll just talk a little bit about myself. My title is lieutenant. I more or less think of myself as a specialist in terms of compliance and regulation adherence. I'm a book regulation policy fiend. I have a master's in law from Willamette, or a master's in legal studies. I mean, it's in the law school, but it's not JD. My bachelor's is criminal justice. Before corrections, I was in the military working with Protection Level 1 resources. That means nukes. And so you can see from my background dealing with nukes now inmates, policy and compliance is pretty high on my list of things that are important to me. I come from the Northwest. I'm from Seattle originally, born and raised in the 80s and 90s. And then my military time, I went all over the globe. So that's a little bit of where my perspective is shaped, or how my perspective is shaped. And I'm ready for whatever he's got for me.
All right, our first question is, before today, had you ever heard of data centers? And if so, what do you think it was, and what do you think it does?
Yeah, I've heard of data centers, and as far as I understand, a data center is really just a centralized location with a ton of servers and other computer-esque things. I'm not the best computer whiz, but it's a tech center for the. I'm sure most average people, common people, myself included in that, you lay people when it comes to computers would just say it's a place to store data, because that has to go somewhere. So a data center is it's a place where servers and other computer items, tools, whatever you want to call it, would store and maintain and hold on to data, because at least in my mind, you can't put something on the internet then it just kind of floats in the air. It has to be routed in a wire somewhere, then stored somewhere. So even though we hear of things going into the cloud, I think that people may misinterpret like things like the cloud as though it's just floating out in the air. That information has to be stored somewhere, and that's what I assume a data center is. I assume everything we put online gets linked into a ginormous building somewhere, and it's stored on some server ready to be used later, at a later time or date or whatever.
Or tons of water too is used to power these things. How important do you think data centers are to your daily life, and why?
Well, in 2026, I think they're extremely important because, despite, what people want, the reality is we all have to live in the world that exists for us. Like, you may not like cars, for example, but we live in an automobile world, especially in the United States. We're an automobile country. So as far as like how important it is to my daily life, I mean, back in 1995, it wasn't really important at all, but today it's highly important. Everything we do is digital. Everything we do is online. Every organization, company, government, private or government, is moving away from physical paper, and they're moving into electronic everything, and that electronic everything has to be stored somewhere. So whether I like data centers or not is, as far as I'm concerned, highly irrelevant. What's relevant is it's something that we're using in today's world, and I just accept it for what it is.
So, given the amount of water and the size of these buildings, football fields, literally on top of each other, what concerns, if any, would you have if a large data center were built near your community, like the one they're building at the moment in Hillsboro?
I guess I don't care a whole lot about data centers specifically. I would just prefer, again, what I was saying in the last question, like you may not like the changing world, but you have to accept it. And I was discussing my concerns about a data center potentially being put in by where I live. And that is, I don't care if it's a data center or what. I just don't like, I guess I just don't like things being built around my house. I, you know, I feel like the world's already overbuilt. There's too much. You know, I think that we in the Western world have gotten really far away from our simpler lives that were a better time. And so a data center or a giant mall or a Walmart or another neighborhood, it doesn't matter. I guess I just don't like the expansion. I think there's plenty of places out there that are dilapidated, torn down, defunct, needing to be imploded, that we could we could do that instead and put in things in those locations rather than mowing over nature. So if you take, for example, I live out in Sandy, Oregon, and you move a little bit northwest towards Portland into Gresham. Gresham has a couple, let's say strip mall-like areas that it's mostly empty stores and it's not being used. I would be much more in support of taking one of those properties and mowing it over and putting a data center right there, rather than taking a big patch of grass and wildlife and mowing it over to put in something new. I just don't like the impact on the wildlife that loses their house and stuff like that. So that's kind of where I come from.
So what benefits do you think a data center could bring to a local community?
Well, jobs. I mean, that's an obvious one because data centers have got to have jobs. And it's the old, was it Reagan era? It's the economy stupid kind of mindset. People want jobs and money, and that makes total sense because despite me not wanting growth and expansion, I myself was part of growth and expansion. A neighborhood had to be built for me, and for me to live in and for me to have a job in the community. So, I mean, I think the biggest benefit is that it helps provide a life for the people who exist, for the people that are already here. We can't just ignore them, expect them to go live out in the woods. So that's what I think it would bring is a boost to that local economy to bring jobs, hopefully some newer, higher tech jobs that are paying a decent salary so people can pay their bills and live. But as far as I don't think it brings I think it brings a secondary benefit, which is the jobs and a boost to the economy. I don't know what kind of a benefit it would bring directly. I don't know if data being stored helps a community. Could anything that's providing jobs and a boost to the economy be just as good? Sure. So I don't think that there's something inherently beneficial about the data center, although I recognize that, again, going to a digital world, there's going to be data centers. So I guess I just could care less about what the product is. I just recognize that something that's providing jobs and a boost to the economy is what's important.
And the final question is, after taking some time to learn about these data centers, has your opinion changed on them? If so, how?
No, I wouldn't say my opinion's changed at all. I generally know enough of what they are, enough for me to function in life. I'm not working in a data center, so I don't need to know the fine ins and outs. I know enough. My opinion's not going to change. You mentioned a couple times the water usage. I do think it's a funny little factoid that every entry in something like ChatGPT takes a bottle of water of energy for cooling. I recognize we're using an insane amount of water, but that's the human story, is that we unfortunately take more than we use, or pardon me, we use more than what we, I guess, generate or whatever, however you want to word that. like you look at cars as an example. Everybody is freaking out about the emissions from gasoline-powered vehicles, so we moved to battery. But then you look at all the environmental impacts of battery production. Soil erosion, potential water contamination, the amount of emissions that are created to generate or to get the resources to build a battery. It's, you're just shifting the damage from one place to another. And so I guess I'm of the mindset that I just don't care. I think we've reached a breaking point in our human population that no matter what we do, it's going to have some environmental impact, some major impact, because there's just too many humans on Earth. And so I don't really spend time out of my day to worry about it. I just, I don't get to choose the world I live in. I just have to live in it. And so I guess I just don't care.
All right, that concludes today's interview. Thank you very much for joining us, Kevin.
Thanks.